Hey, this is gonna be a video about my thoughts on Chicago. For the last couple years, pretty much ever since Obama became president, though he's not anymore, um, they have done an awful lot of, news reports regarding Chicago. Chicago, Chicago, Chicago. I'm sure you've all heard of it. I'm sure you're all sick of it. But, the question is, why? Why Chicago? I think the answer is a lot deeper than what it may appear to be at the surface. At the surface, it seems like it was Chicago purely because Barack Obama came from there, and if you want to criticize Barack, criticize Chicago, right? Seems to make sense. And then also, why Chicago? Well, crime rates were going down for most of the last 10 years. But Chicago, I don't know if it went down or went up, but it still remained pretty high. So, with crime rates going down in most of America, you could always just kind of point to, this one example of Chicago and kind of use that to try to, push your agenda. Like, oh, look at these, basically Negroes, and, look how crazy they're acting, and yada, 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 yada. But, I think there's a much deeper reason for why they were going after Chicago. So you have to understand, these people who are, being all crazy and shooting up this and that in Chicago, these are not just normal black teenagers, 16 years old. Some normal black teenager, 16 years old, can't get a hold of a freaking AK with 100 drum clip, with full metal jackets, loaded up in them. All right, they're not gonna get a hold of that. They're not gonna get a hold of freaking Tech Nines and Uzis with hollow points in them. Okay, they're not. They're not going to. They're not just gonna get a hold of that. At 16 years old. I mean, they're not making them in factories. These guns, from things I've heard, are literally just dropped off in Chicago. I mean, literally just from what I've heard, just in crates or barrels or whatever. Sometimes just dropped off. And also, I mean, you think these people are growing their own drugs? They don't grow anything. They don't make anything. I mean, black people in general in this country don't really grow or make, too much. I mean, we work for other people. We don't really have our own businesses or anything like that anymore. So, I mean, it's all being brought in. It's all being funneled in. But who's it being funneled into? Well, if you can hear it, this is, my channel is a lot deeper. It's a lot weirder than other people, but here goes. It's being funneled to clones, all right? These are not just normal black 16-year-olds, okay? When you look at all these crazy black kids in Chicago who are, shooting things up and this and that, when you look at the men who are doing it, the boys or whatever they are, you'll see their eyes are too close together. That's a female. Like, all of these clones, when they make them, let's just say transsexual to keep it simple. And that means if they're supposed to be a man, they will have female skeletal, structure, a female skeletal structure, and a female's facial features. So these men clones, they're going to have close together eyes. Their foreheads are going to be small. Their noses are going to be kind of small. They're going to have a V-shaped jawline. Their ears are going to be like the size of a quarter. They're not going to be they're going to appear to be men because of all the shouting that they do and all the guns they wave. But when you really just kind of break down their skeletal structure, it's going to be that of a woman, okay? And when you look at their arms are going to be kind of short. Their hips are going to be kind of wide. They're just going to look weird, okay? They're not going to look like what a real man should look like. Anytime you see these, like, Chicago gangsters or whatever. And, I went to the airport in Chicago. I didn't go out and see it, but I saw a lot of actual non-tranny black women working at the airport. And they were like younger. They were like in their 20s and whatnot. But a lot of the black women, not most of them, but a lot of them looked like they weren't clones. They looked like they were actual real females. And I'll tell you something else if you're still listening. Most people in the world actually are they're actually not real humans. They're transsexual. Okay, real humans aren't transsexual, but these non-humans that they're flooding the earth with, these things are transsexual. But in Chicago, in the airport, I saw a lot of black females, a lot of black women who were actually females and not transsexuals. I won't say they were most of the black women, but I did see like an unusual number of them, I think. And so I think maybe one of the reasons they're going after Chicago may be because there's a lot of actual black humans in Chicago compared to a lot of other places. And because there are so many black humans, maybe, in Chicago, they feel the need to kind of, lambast, to kind of like, put down Chicago and to kind of demonize it because there's an unusual number of humans, of black humans there. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't really see too much of Chicago. I just kind of went into the airport, caught a flight, and then I, left. I stayed there for maybe a couple of hours because it was, I had to wait. But, that's just kind of what I've seen from the airport and nothing really more. But I did see a lot of, black human, maybe women in Chicago, maybe more than normal. And so I'm kind of wondering if that's maybe the reason why they always have these stories regarding Chicago. I don't know. I'm just kind of putting it out there. Different cities may have different numbers of humans. And some of the cities that they really go out of their way to demonize might have more humans than normal. And that could maybe go for a lot of different things. Maybe cities, maybe states, regions, etc. The ones with more maybe humans than normal, they might go out of their way to really demonize. Don't know for sure. Didn't really walk around Chicago. This is just what I'm gathering from the airport. This video may or may not be true. But even if it isn't true, I hope you do understand when you look at some of my other videos that most people are not human, okay? Most people are actually clones. And, does Chicago have more real humans than a normal city? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but this is just a theory. Yeah, man, if you're a man, if you're a woman, you need to really look at some of my other videos, some of Yahweh Rules' videos. You really need to learn how to tell the difference between a real human and a clone. Also, they blink too much. A real human should probably blink, if a person blinks once every 5 seconds or more, they're not a human. I mean, generally speaking, they're not a human. If a person blinks maybe once every 6 to 15 or so seconds, they may be a human. They're probably a human. Like, a real human should probably blink, like, I don't know, maybe 6 times a minute, give or take 2 or 3 more of that. I mean, I'm not too sure. But if they blink once every 5 seconds or more, they're definitely not human. And you need to know that. You need to be aware. And stay safe, guys. I mean, we're in the last days of time, and most people just aren't human. Well, anyway, that's the video.